And we'll get you rolling here.
Yeah, so for the record, I watched the video yesterday and I watched it at about 7:30 last night as I was winding down the night. It was great.
Oh, the other nutrition, yeah, it's protein. So that one's always going to be nutritional based. And then this one's going to be, again, I told you I forgot that I didn't put supplementation in my modules. So I was like, oh man, this would be a good topic, even though addressed it with a lot of guys, because they'll ask individually, right? So it's just a good topic for. Can you see that? Okay, we'll add
Yep.
some more. Um, So this is just a broad topic for people in general. I'm gonna have to do something with the female or the general as well. Supplementation. Sorry, Aaron's bothering me. Yeah. Um,
Hi, Aaron.
hey, you broke the coffee maker. Mhm. Anyway, all right. I'm gonna get rolling. So, and then ask questions as we go, and if there's obviously we'll have some time for you to address some of the questions you may have about supplementation. So, supplements are utilized for that purpose as to supplement what you can't consume or what you may not be consuming from your foods. Obviously, in an ideal world, we would get all of our nutrients through our food. I would say it's impossible nowadays, just based upon how we source food and stuff. So the nutrient density is just not what it used to be based upon some of the soils and how we turn food over now. But anyway, with that said, supplements are meant to fill the gaps that we may identify and or we can use them to kind of cover some basis and help with some other processes that go on within the chemistry of the body. So I'm going to touch on specifics. So obviously, I just talked about this. They should support nutrition, not replace it. Now, when you get in a pinch, and you need like your protein or you need to hit a certain marker point. That's what they're for, man. Ideally, again, we want to consume as much real food as we possibly can because the nutrient value is going to be higher. The fiber is going to be higher and things of that nature. The chemicals, hopefully, within that food is going to be less than a process made supplementation. Just depends on obviously what type of supplement. So you want to look at safe, effective, worth investment because some supplementations like snake oil, it tells you it's going to do a lot and it may not do anything. Unfortunately, I've probably wasted thousands and thousands of dollars on supplements over the years. It is what it is, right? We were always chasing that next edge, that faster recovery, or whatever it may be. Specifically, being in the performance side of things, yes, I've tried a lot of growth supplements and this, that, and the other, and you know, um, wasted some money, but it's all good. So we've all been down that rabbit hole a little bit in some format. So one of the baseline supplementations that everybody should have is some type of good whey-based or plant-based. Some people have a difficulty digesting whey protein, so we would look at other options for them. Maybe it's a plant-based. Some people have a really hard time digesting plant-based. So we got to figure out individually what works for you. Now, what I will say in between protein, and I think I touched on this yesterday because we were talking about protein, is um, the plant-based and whey-based, animal-based. The animal-based is way better bang for your buck. Plant-based, they've gotten better, but and I can share this podcast over to you guys. They they're putting they had to put too much chemicals in it to push up the ratio of protein in comparison of animal-based and plant-based. So that could be a downfall. And you have to take or consume more. So the calorie ratio is going to be a little bit higher. Again, this protein powder is going to be for convenience to hit your marker points. What you want to look for is obviously low sugar, high protein blends, minimal ingredients if you can. So the less ingredients, the probably better. Now you will run into, we used to sell a really clean protein from Aneva, and the problem we were running into, it didn't taste very good. So it's one of those things where if you're not going to consume it and it's so clean, it's not it's defeating the whole purpose. We we use some First Form, some Andy Frisella products. They're pretty clean. They do a good job. They source their products. Um, we moved over to him from Aneva actually because it tasted a little bit better. Clients would consume it, and it was still within the ratio of not putting too much, and it was digestible. That's another thing. Um, if you're getting gassy and or some disruption post the protein, you may really look and see the ingredients on it and or try maybe a cleaner version because that's one thing that will happen with proteins that have more ingredients in them. So you may have some disruption digestion wise, and you may not absorb as much as you wanted to. So look for obviously labels or look on the label. Less ingredients is going to be better. Now, ratio as well. If you're around 125 calories and you can get about 23 to 25 grams of protein, you're doing well. Now, plant-based is not going to be that way. Plant-based is probably going to push you 180 and you're going to get 16 or something like that grams of protein per serving. So you just got to look at that too. The other thing you want to look at when you're buying protein powder is the amount of scoops it takes for the serving. So sometimes it's deceitful when you look at a big container and you have to do two scoops. So you may not be getting the amount or the dollar amount you thought you were getting based upon how they've kind of it's not as dense. So whatever they did is they thinned that protein out a little bit and put it in a bigger container or whatever it may be from a marketing standpoint. So those are just things you want to watch for. If you have more questions, never hesitate, send them over, right? And I can always help you out. Yeah, go ahead, bud.
What are your thoughts about the gold standard protein?
I would have to do a little bit more research. The things I've heard about it, I think it was a decent protein. And it's been a while. That's came across way back. I would just have to look at it again. I have not gotten any negative component, but that stands out as one that was a good quality protein.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
again, I would have to do a little bit more digging, which is not uncommon.
I haven't tried any of Andy Frisella's first form products yet, but
Yeah.
as I flush some of the stuff out that's hanging around in the pantries and stuff, I'm gonna give that a try.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean, and if you have questions about certain ones or flavors, that's what people specifically protein, they'll go down those rabbit holes of like, hey, I like this flavor, that flavor. Just be careful on that because sometimes you'll buy a certain flavor and it just is not what you anticipated. So if you get off your general protein, strawberry, chocolate, whatever, because they have some uh, red velvet, which is really good, but it's always sold out. Um, they have some cookie and cream and things of that nature. So they got a big variety. Uh, and we've tried a couple different. Sometimes you'll try them and you're like, oh, this is not as good as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, anyway, I can take a look at that Rick too. Let me do a little bit more digging on that. But I think the gold standard last time I checked was one that was pretty good.
Okay, and I might be getting ahead of us here, but what
No,
do you guys like to mix your protein shakes with?
just
Water?
depends. You can. So that's a great question. It all depends on where you're at with your calories and what you're looking like for the day. So you can use. So here's what you can do. If you're just using it for to push your protein up and you don't want to push your calories up and you can stomach it, use water. If you're in a range where you need to go ahead and push your calories up, you can use milk. You can use, I mean, we used to use a lot of almond milk and stuff like that. I got away from it. I'll use some milk now if I make a shake, or I'll go water if I want to pull the calories. So that's a preference component. Now, if you want to make a full meal, and add other nutrient values to it, like blueberries, and some people like to get their greens in with it, so they, they'll just mix everything up. So they'll do, some type of spinach or something in that format to get their greens in. You can use it as a meal. So then you're going to be thinking 400 and some calories, maybe 500 calories, depending on what you put in there. So then the thought process goes, okay, this is my meal. Make sure the ratio doesn't go too high and you're still getting around that, 50 grams or 40 grams of protein in there if it turns into a meal. That's just a good ratio. Here's a couple examples I do. I will to push my protein up during the day, depending on how my schedule is. I will use full fat Greek yogurt and I will mix protein with it. And it's almost like like a, not like a pudding, but close enough. And then if I needed a little bit more calories or if my carbs are low, I'll throw some fruit in there so it'll push up, so I'm looking at 400 and some calories, and I might get anywhere from 38, depending on how much I put in there, to 40 some grams uh per meal or per consumption. And I try to if I'm going to push the calories up higher, what I may do is I may even double the protein into the Greek yogurt. So then, I'm looking at least almost 500 calories, but again, I'm pushing around that 50-gram marker point of protein. You feel pretty satisfied when you do it that way. Again, that's just an example. Hey, Rick, and I will. I don't know if I shared this to you. I'll check after we get off this. I have a sample protein guide that has different high protein snacks. And I can't remember if I had another guy start around the same time you did, and I know I shared a bunch of stuff over to him, but I don't know if I shared it with you, so I'll double check on you.
Oh yeah, you sent it over. We've already got the groceries on the list. My wife said they'll be here tomorrow. So
Oh, so yeah, no, so that was more like the meal plan, I think. I have just like a document you can look at to like, okay, here's tricks on how to get your protein up with
oh
snacks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just strategies. Um, so on to the next supplement. You probably heard a lot about this is creatine monohydrate. So creatine monohydrate is a supplement just like whey protein or a protein. It's something you can have in your consumption on a daily basis, and I recommend it be because originally they thought it was just performance supplementation, so it would just help with muscle contraction or having energy for muscle contraction, so improve strength, power, recovery, lean mass. Well, it has that effect, but it also has a cognitive effect. So they've linked this to helping memory and some preventative measures towards Alzheimer's. So this is the only supplement that will cross the brain-blood barrier. So it's a supplement that probably everybody should be on in some format. Pretty simple to take, just a powder form. You can throw it in your shake, down to hatch. I mix it with um, my essential amino acids during my workout. But this is one that, again, the research shows it's just all around good for general health. Not only helps with recovery and muscle contraction, but it also helps with the cognitive impact. So it's one that I recommend if somebody isn't taking. And you can cycle them, and they'll say, "Hey, you need to do a loading phase." You don't have to do a loading phase. Um, that's not going to matter. You can get creatine monohydrate through your nutrition, and you do if you eat animal products, but you're just not going to get enough based upon adding these, 3 to 5 grams per day. Now, people will ask, should I stay on this forever? What I do, I might cycle it. I might do it for, 3 months and then take a couple weeks off and then cycle back on it. It's not right or wrong. Sometimes what I may do is not take it on the weekends, just schedule wise. It's not going to hurt anything. So just think of it that way. There's not like, hey, you got to load up on this. Some of the instructions may say that, but as long as you're consistently taking it, like during the week, if you take it 5 days, you're good. And if you miss 2 days, it's not going to hurt you. So on to the next, and you may have You guys may have heard of this, and it's pretty obviously prevalent in the marketplace. Omega-3 fish oil. So omega-3s help with heart, brain health, and another big thing they do is help with an inflammatory response. So pull down your internal inflammation and joint pain. So recovery is going to help a little bit, longevity again. And you want to look for high in EPA, DHEA content. And let me pull the numbers on that too. I think I have specific numbers to look for on the ratio of EPA, DHEA. And then the big thing with this is you probably want to one that has purity test and or third party testing for these because we've purchased some over the years that were whether it was Sam's or Costco or whatever, some off brand, and you start belching them up. Well, that's not necessarily good. That means they're spoiled. It is what it is. So I would, make sure you source, not just grab some off the CVS counter. So if you have more questions, I can give you some resources to have different fish oils that are going to be a little bit better. So. But the interesting part with this omega in general, see, there's an omega-3 and omega-6. A recommendation is minimal processed foods or minimize your processed foods because processed foods have omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 increases inflammation. Okay. And the interesting part is if we're loaded up with omega-6 fatty acids, we cannot absorb omega-3 fatty acids. So I always tell guys, hey, if you're going to be, you should be consuming omega-3s, but hey, let's make sure that we're not eating too much processed foods because the processed foods typically are loaded up with omega-6. And if that happens, your absorption rate of your omega-3s really falls off. And it also causes an inflammatory response, internal inflammatory response. You may not notice it, but long term, it can cause some problems. All right, this next one again, evil COVID or whatever it was. Vitamin D was a big thing that kind of rolled down. And they've been kicking this around for a while. Well, the interesting part, if you're in the Midwest, and most people are going to be in some type of deficiency. Just even myself, I was kind of surprised. And you can get this tested from your doctor. They can do a simple blood test, and they can identify. And they should do this. This is one of them they should do because it shouldn't cost your insurance any more money. But it's a vitamin D to identify if you have deficiencies. So most of us do have deficiencies in some format. And the interesting part, it affects, as you can see here, it affects other areas, other systems. But vitamin D helps with immunity, bone density, hormones, and mood. So vitamin D is a big one on helping production testosterone. That's one main component. So, but you do want to, if you have a deficiency in vitamin D, you want to make sure, and your doctor will tell you this as well. You want to make sure you do a D3 plus K2. So the absorption of the D3 is proper. That's why they combine those two. So it ensures the calcium absorption utilization of the vitamin D3. That's why they combine. Again, you can do blood work to identify this. The cool part is, again, Aaron and I did this work earlier this year. We got identified all the deficiencies we have. We started addressing those with supplementation. And then we came back for our second. We've had three blood draws, our second blood draw, and our D3, our D numbers were all up normal. So what we did, our doctor said, hey, cycle every other day with your D3 now instead of every day because it pushed our values up where they needed to be. So that just shows you like supplements will work, but we sometimes we have to have feedback to make sure that they are working properly. And that's what some of these programs will do. So another one is, and I've talked a few of you guys about this, is magnesium because we can use this in a different way, in different ways. Magnesium can support deep sleep, muscle relaxation, energy production. And low magnesium can affect other processes within the body. So if you have a magnesium deficiency, some of your other hormones and things may not be functioning well because you have that deficiency. Again, that's a deeper test, but many are deficient due to this component right here is obviously stress and poor diet. But it's easy to get magnesium in through a supplementation. Best forms glycitinate, if I pronounce it, maltrate, citrate. So those are the forms. Now they can mix them. So you can look at, and a lot of them do this. What they'll do is they'll mix all three because what it'll do is some of them will help you calm down. Some of them will address more of the relaxation. Some of them will address more of the energy production. So they'll mix all three forms. Now, the only thing I would watch and you can look at the dosage. That's going to be dependent on each individual. Sometimes when you get a higher dose of, and you're taking it from you can take it in liquid form, or you can take it in a powder form and make it into liquid. If you take too much of it, you may have runny stool in the morning. So that's the only thing you got to be careful for or with. And I take, I let guys know that, hey, if you start on these, because they will help with calming you down at night, and help with some of the sleep and relaxation. So you want to take an evening for recovery. You can take them in pill form, but I think if you take them in pill form, you probably want to take them um, 45 minutes to an hour prior to bed. If you don't take them in pill form, you can consume it, drink it within, 15, 20 minutes of going to bed. So that's really the difference in those and how you can consume them in different formats. So you hear a lot of this too. Electrolytes, and again, you can keep this pretty basic with salt, but you want to make sure you're taking in good salt because just regular bleached down salt, they've said, hey, we probably should stay away from it based upon the chemicals they use to strip it down. Um, but you can buy all the different types of electrolytes. I Sometimes I use these. Sometimes I just use my essential amino acids almost as an electrolyte because it has a mix and it has some energy source in it. So this optimizes hydration, energy focus, and endurance. Not saying you have to use an electrolyte, but you can. Some people like using them because they get tired of just drinking water. Now, what will happen is when you introduce electrolyte, you just got to make sure it doesn't push your calories up too high because some of them will have 60, 80 calories per drink. So look for sodium, potassium, magnesium. Obviously, avoid the sugar heavy formulas. We just don't want you to pile a bunch of sugar in, and it's going to cause other problems. So low sugar to no sugar. Um, some of them are going to have a little in it, which is fine. Keep those grams low if you can, and then look for ones with sodium, potassium, magnesium. Again, there's a lot of them out there. I'm not. I don't typically say, hey, this one or this one. I don't use them enough personally to say, hey, you need to do this one. If you have questions, never hesitate to say, hey, is this a good electrolyte? What I'll do is I'll really go through the ingredients and look at that. That's my main component with these and see what the breakdown is. So interesting with this zinc, I am actually on a zinc supplement myself. Again, it's because my testosterone was low, so it also identified in my blood work when they did and looked at all my minerals. Zinc was one of them that was low, which they couldn't tell me why. Maybe just not a variety of food that I'm consuming, but it's critical for testosterone production, immune function, supports protein synthesis and recovery, which is obviously very important. Again, it goes back to deficiency linked to low testosterone. Best in whole foods if you can get them, but I currently am on a supplement because mine was too low. Uh, I will be getting my next blood draw here in probably the next couple weeks. I'll let you know because I've been on that for almost 3 months. So hopefully I'm going to see my zinc levels go up. And I had a little bit of iron issue going on as well. So um, but I really don't know what that, and they couldn't tell me what that was linked to. Um, what they wanted to see in this next blood draw is it leveled itself out because it may be sometimes we just have certain situations where it pushes um, your ratios off, and we also changed the uh, the labs that we were going to, and that could be it. I even asked the doctor that, and she's like, I don't know. They're all supposed to be standardized, but we went to a different lab, and who knows if that caused some of my numbers to be off. Let's hope not, but it could have. So the bonus component, the big picture bonus, um, you could add in, and I forgot to put the essential, and I'll talk about them right now. Essential amino acids, those are the ones um, that are more important. You will hear a lot of branch chain amino acids. If you're going to buy amino acids, buy essential amino acids, okay? Because we will not utilize the branch chain amino acids properly when we drink them or consume them. The essential amino acids we will utilize. They duped me for a while. It's okay. You got to learn sometime. The other one, green powder. This really fills nutritional gaps. I've used it off and on. I probably should be using it because my variety is pretty tight right now. What I'm saying there is I I'm not probably consuming enough veggies. And I know I'm not consuming enough fruit. It's just not in my palate right now. When I pulled back and started doing the cut, I kind of went pretty bland, and I just never have gotten back into the variety we used to, which is fine. If that happens, you may want to look at putting a green into your. It's just a fast way to get some nutrients into your system. So green powders, again, ask if you have questions about certain ones. I know the big, I forget the name of it now. I think the number one um, green powder, and it'll pop in my head in a second, but it's legit. It's good. When I sat down and had a meeting with our doctor about our specific gut biome, she said, "Hey, if you wanted to, you can take that green powder. It's good. It's shown to help with some of your gut biome. Uh, Knock on wood, our gut biome is pretty good. We actually have a specific regimen we're doing right now that was prescribed to us. But again, if you want to cover in broad the green powder, it is legit, so it does work. Collagen. You see a lot of people do collagen. Collagen is for connective tissue, but it is not a full protein, so you can't count it towards. So if your collagen says 20 grams, don't count it towards your total protein intake. Um, it helps with joint, skin, tendon health. I know a lot of people put that in their coffee. I did for a little bit, but I got away from it, and um, partly because I got a combination of supplementation from the program we're using, and I have enough. That's enough for me to handle right now. Because it's like just like anything else, you have to have a system in place to make sure you're consuming your supplements on a daily basis. Probiotics, I think it's another one that you can introduce and not have fear of it's going to do anything wrong. So that's going to gut health and digestion. You can do a prebiotic as well. Big thing with this, if you are consuming yogurt, full fat yogurt, that's huge. It's going to have a lot of the things that you need to help your gut biome and probiotics. So it has it in there. The kombucha, if you can tolerate it, we introduced that a year ago, and we still use it. Just make sure it's low sugar. Now, if you like krauts and fermented foods, go for it. Some people do, some people don't, but that's all going to be really good for your gut biome and your probiotic, prebiotic. It's going to be all in there, and it, and they're finding more and more correlations. And again, you may have heard this with the gut and the brain and other functioning chemistry within the body if your gut's off. So other things may not be functioning properly because you haven't addressed your gut. Now, again, if you want to take some things to the next level, there's companies out there that will do all this testing for your gut, and then they'll do you specific probiotics for your gut if you think you're having some issues. If you don't, most likely, knock on wood, you're probably doing okay. A lot of times, a person who has a lot of digestion, some other issues, they'll typically tell us, and they know that there's something else going on that they probably should address. And then adaptogens, that's gonna be stress, reliance, and balance. So some of those adaptogens go into more of like testosterone support and things of that nature. I didn't put anything on there because I don't have my knowledge base in that area is not at the top. I don't use them. So, and I haven't taken the time to really dig down that rabbit hole. I think every time I have, they say, hey, it can help with some testosterone production. Hey, it can help with some growth hormone. And some of the research is just not good enough for me to say, oh, yeah, hey, you need to take that. So I'd rather just stay away from some of those. So obviously supplements are to supplement. They're add-ons to help fill the gaps, not magic pills. Prioritize whole foods if we can, because you're going to get more of your nutrient base from whole foods. But as we know, if you're on the go or running around, you're not always going to get whole foods in. I get it. Sleep, we got to dial that sleep in because sleep's going to help the body heal. It's going to help the other chemistry do what it needs to do. What like your growth hormone, your testosterone, your insulin is all going to be impacted by your sleep. So we get sleep training, mindset, and then start with the essentials. And then obviously, if you need more specifics, never hesitate to ask. Consistency is always key. Again, I talk about that because I've been the one where, hey, I'm going to take this. I start taking it, and then I forget, and then I stop taking it. That happens. I get it. And you just got to figure out a system for yourself. What we do is we have a little tray of all of our vitamins, supplements, I should say. And every morning after, there's ones I have to take for morning, there's ones I have to take for bed. And I have them all there, and I make sure in the morning once I eat, I start plopping them all out and make sure I take them. Now they sell those pill pack thingies as well, like you're old. We actually bought some of those as well. So whatever's going to work for you. But that's what I have. It's very general because again, I know that the ones I've just discussed, they do work in the format they're supposed to work in. Again, can you get more specific? Yes. Uh, Big thing with it is you sometimes you get what you pay for, the old saying. So don't go look for the cheapest supplement possible because it may not be one that is the quality. It may be suffering again because there for a while they got the supplement industry got hammered pretty hard because they were not doing a good enough regulation on the chemicals or products within the supplement. It was, I don't know, it was probably 7 or 8 years ago. CVS had a ton of supplements pulled off their shelves because they found other chemicals that were harmful because they were not being tested properly. That's just one example. I know they cleaned some of that up, and it's the interesting part with supplements is there's a gap there within the marketplace. Why I'm saying is that it's not regulated by the FDA like it should be. So they were able to sneak stuff and find gaps that were there. But that's all I have. Let's hit some questions.
All right, I got a couple questions for you,
Sure.
Tony, if you have a second.
Yeah.
All right, first question. Fish oil. What brand do you guys use for fish oil?
We let me look at that. I can't think off the top of my head. So so the interesting part or the cool part, the program we're doing right now with Elevations, and even before I started with that program, is I have the a platform that sources all supplements. And when I go and type a specific supplement into this platform, the only reason I can do this is because exercise science degree. So it's like nurse practitioners all have access to this platform, and this company sources all the supplements. So if I type fish oil in, it'll pull the three best fish oil. They only sell like the top tier.
Nice.
So I'll send you a couple different brands over. It, we were using, and again, I was using First Form, but our doctor recommended this brand from this specific site. So we went ahead and switched. I'll give you a couple different options with that. Once I get I'm working on a resource website for us that you guys will have access to, and it'll have all this stuff laid out. I just don't have it done yet, but that's a great question.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then my big thing too is I'm thinking about like the timeline of when I need to take these supplements.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that magnesium, I've got it in pill form, take it an hour before bed.
Yeah.
Creatine, I'm thinking probably right after a workout.
So that's not going to matter. I would probably say I would do it pre-workout
Oh, okay.
if you're
Cool.
consuming um, if you're not consuming it if you're not consuming anything else. So I'll give you an example. I use my essential amino acids, and then I put so I do, and I could have put this on there as well, but I didn't. Glutamine is another amino acid that is pretty good, standardized across health path. It's good for your healing your gut, your gut lining, and it does obviously there's some other chemical responses it does. It supports different production of different hormones and things of that nature, and then much more. But glutamine, I should have probably put on here. I take glutamine, then I take my creatine, and I mix it all up with my essential amino acids. So that's just example, and then I drink it during my workout,
Gotcha.
and that's just how I do it. It's not going to make that much a difference as long as you're getting it in sometime.
Okay. And then the fish oil, I thought it was funny you talk about like the fish oil burps. Boy, I've had those before. And I've heard it's best to eat that stuff with food, right? So that it
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the one that we're currently taking is we keep it in the freezer. Um,
Mm.
so I pop them out, after I eat breakfast, down the hatch, and drink some water. I think I'm pretty sure they send those things to us cool, so they don't want them to spoil. But I'll send you a link for them. You can take a look at them. And I'll give you what I can do is what I'll do is I will do a search and it'll pull multiple up and see. I don't know the price breakdown of them. I just don't know off the top of my head. They're not outrageous, but they're not cheapest. So they're like mid-level, but good quality based upon what you're paying for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I like what you mentioned too about the whole like I know you poked on it saying like the old guy pill case.
Yes.
Um, I find that I'm not consistent with my pills. You made the comment consistency beats novelty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever taken a supplement more than like a week in a row, which
I know,
scares me.
man. I know we've all kind of been there a little bit. I can make it past about I'd get that three week marker point and then fall off.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one of those pill bottles and just bring it with me when I pack my lunch to work.
Yeah, no, so we travel with that this last, when we traveled, it was great because we're on so many supplements that, man, when you get them out of their bottle, you don't know the difference. You don't know what the heck you're taking. And some of them you can only take one day, and some of them you take every other day. You see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure you get them in alignment with what you need to be doing.
Ooh, I like it. Well, thanks, Tony. This has been very helpful.
Yeah, so I'll take a look at your the gold standard. Again, I think it's pretty good. I will send you over some information on the fish oil, just the brands, and then if you have other questions, never hesitate to reach out. That's what I'm here for, man.
Okay, I have one more question. It's
Yeah,
kind of unrelated to supplementation.
that's okay.
So Wednesday's date night with my wife and I think I've got like 1,100 calories left in my day. Where would you and Aaron go if you were going on a date night on a Wednesday? You weren't
Depends on
trying
how much depends on how much money you want to spend.
to. I'm not saying Ruth's Chris, but I mean I got to make sure I'm mindful of my macros here. You
Yeah,
know.
no. Well, you should be able to do that no, regardless of where you go, unless you're going to McDonald's. You better not be doing that, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, give me a rundown of what your, because everybody has their routines and their favorite places. Give me a couple different rundowns, and then I'll say, hey, here's what I would do.
Yeah, we've been local, like, and it's not up to the standard of where we're trying to go, right, with this effort, right?
Yeah,
We might
yep,
go to like a local bar and grill down the street, and
yep,
everything's deep fried, and there's
yep, yep,
French
yep,
fries
yep.
as the side. That's all you
Yeah,
get.
yeah. So perfect. I mean, that's great because they should have some type of option where maybe it's not fried. But if that's not the case, you want to go after like the hamburger and double up the patty if you can. Pull the bun, leave lettuce, pickles, whatever else on there. Get rid of the bun because that's gonna that just adds up quick. Now, if you're pretty under calorie, you may have the realm to add that bun and be okay with it. So again, it just depends on where you're at. I mean, you probably smoked a lot of calories a day, right?
Yep, yep.
How many steps you get in? I didn't look at your thing.
My steps, I'm probably at like 3,500 steps right now, so I've got a walk to do for sure. But our treadmill, I'm pumped about this. The team is too. We've got a walking treadmill that's coming in from Amazon tomorrow. So we've got a
Nice.
sit stand desk. We'll have a walking treadmill, and then
So,
anybody at the team will be able to use it.
yeah, so the interesting part is that ring's giving you some data points. So you probably weren't hitting very many steps on a
No.
daily basis. Yeah, I
And
got you.
what I'm finding that's interesting too about the ring is Sunday night was my best night's sleep, and every night's been a little worse throughout my
Yeah, just
work
give it.
week.
Yeah, just give it a 7 days. Let it catch up some data on you, um, then it'll start like normalizing a little bit. But you get into work week sometimes. Depending on what you got going on with the stress and stuff like that. Yeah, it can be a little tricky. Usually the weekends are the better sleeps. Sunday nights typically not because you're like, oh, what do I got to do? For Monday, the week, and all that. Just depends on person.
I'm finding there is some accuracies though there, and I usually on Friday there's nothing left in the tank, so to speak. I'm fully exhausted.
Yeah,
I just
yeah, and that could be. So interesting part is, look at the data points on the sleep and the REM sleep and the deep sleep and stuff like that. It'll track it and it'll tell you, you know, um, your body will catch up. I mean, will it catch up? I don't know, but what it will do, and this happens to me, is if I'm lacking certain sleep, mine's the deep sleep, it will catch up. I'll do like 45 minutes, an hour of deep sleep when I've hit like 15, 20 multiple nights. It's interesting.
wow, it's good stuff.
So bar and grill, man, just look on the menu, see if they have stuff that's not fried, go after protein. If they don't, if you don't want to do fries, do a side salad. Put the vinaigrettes, do a vinaigrette if you can, or put it on the side, let you add just simple stuff like that, dude. That adds up a lot. You could save yourself, 300, 400 calories, 500 calories, even more. It just depends.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not necessarily about going to a different restaurant. It's about navigating the menu better. Is what I'm
100,
hearing.
yeah, exactly. So we go to a lot of different places that people are like, you go there? Yeah. But you may want to be a little bit disciplined in what you order. That's more of it than anything, than going to, specific restaurants. Because for the most part, they'll do similar products. Now, is there quality differences? There can be how they cook them, stuff like that. That's kind of tough one, because, they have to have their profit and what you'll notice is they'll start pulling quality of food to hit their profit margins. We've used to do, we'd go to these new restaurants local, started out really good, right?
Yeah.
2 years later, their food quality went, it must be struggling.
That's funny.
Happens. Hey, but I'll send you that protein thing as well, the one that just gives you ideas on the proteins, high protein snacks.
Cool. Thanks, Tony.
Yep, yes, sir. Hey, enjoy your date night, man.
All right, will do. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check your data right now, man.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Tony.
Yeah, we'll see you, bud.